So originally I wasn't going to script this since this was really impulsive, but I get scared without a script, so let me just explain what happened. So I was browsing YouTube for smaller videos from like 1995 for my research for World Chorus, and I found a super recent one today, so I watched it. And I found World Chorus videos, which in itself is a miracle, but then hold up. There was 3 World Chorus kids, possibly 4, that I've never seen before. In my 3 years of research, I have never seen these kids. This is like finding Lucky all over again. So there are no clear clips on any of the clear videos of World Chorus that we have at all. Like, I've never seen this pattern of movement from these kids. This house, I've never seen it. Like, I've never even seen 3 kids in one scene before, like, give or take. Like, mostly it's 2, or it's like the 5 with the big scene. Like, I've never seen 3, so that was weird in and of itself. But yeah. As well, there was a bit of Lucky footage, which is nice. It was just him moving, but unfortunately Daphne's really unclear. So I thought I'd just try and make a video to come up with like the designs, the names, personalities, and a bit of lore for these guys, because I think, if anything, it makes them a bit more personal, like with Daphne, where I had to kind of improvise her design. With these kids, I went with their base characteristics and just did what I could with them. Like, I had nothing to go on, no nationality. I could guess where they were from, but like it's hard. Like, when you have no context clues, it's really hard to find out where people and like the World Chorus kids are from. So I just guessed a lot of it. But I actually think they came out really nice, so this is the video. So step 1 was designing them on paper, as you can see. I did block out the side because my way of recording is a bit strange. I had to record them using my lamp, like the process with the pencil. So it has like my other setup, it just has stuff which I'd rather not show. So I was like, I'll just use Mary Blair to block it out because her art is prettier than my desk. So I've been trying to improve my traditional drawing skills recently because they aren't quite matching my like digital drawing skills. So I started looking at what I could see from the video to begin with, like base characteristics. So I could see 2 boys and a girl based on characteristic hairstyles of World Chorus, kind of the way they depict gender in that. So I began by drawing kind of their bodies and like how they looked, and then improvising the clothes based on nationalities I gave them, because as I've said, it's really hard to discern where they're from. Like, there are no context clues. The only possible clue we have is the building, which to me looks Mediterranean. Like, it gives me kind of like Greek vibes with like the pots and stuff, but I don't know, like I was struggling. It also gives me African vibes, so I was really conflicted because I had no context of what the building outside looked like. It just showed like the hologram. So I was like, okay, I have no clue what this is supposed to be, so I'll just go with what I can. So I gave the first boy Italian because I thought I heard in the recording one of them say ciao, which Italian greeting. I also used French and British as the other nationalities, just because why not? I also observed that both the boys seemed to have like long sleeves on their designs, but the girl, I couldn't really see sleeves, or like she had like shorter sleeves. It was harder to see the sleeves. And then typical World Chorus fashion, all the hair kind of flicked out. So normally when they draw it, they draw like, I'd call it fluffy hair, like it's like fringes where it like flicks out a bit to kind of show the hair physics movements, which they animate. But yeah, I also guessed that someone might have come on the screen that was from Italy, because as I've said, I couldn't tell where the architecture of the building came from. Like, it looks either Greek or African to me, like that's the vibe it's giving, but I wasn't sure at the time, so I just went with what I could. After all, you have English kids in Scottish castles, like you have Italian kids in like Russian cathedrals. Like, you have a disparity sometimes between the building and who's in it. So I thought it was okay. So yeah, I started in pencil, as you can see, and I went over in pen so that the lines could be easier to see when I drew digitally, because my iPad is really old. So then I moved on to drawing them digitally, and yeah. So when it came to drawing them digitally, I began with the line art, and I just kind of traced over the previous drawing, and I did have to adjust things like hands, or like, for example, Tito's face it looked like very square, and like fixing chins, like I actually didn't use the circle tool, which was weird for me because normally I do. I traced over how I'm drawing faces traditionally, and it's helping my art a lot actually. So yeah, I made adjustments. I also learned from many people that you can put a line around the 4 fingers of your hand to show that it's on the palm side as opposed to like the other way. So I did that, and yeah, I've been doing that recently. I also colored them based on like Disneyland Paris's kind of coloring habits, because for example they have a French girl with red hair on the fountain, and they give gondoliers in Italy in the ride like red stripes, so I tried to keep it consistent with the theming, but I also wanted to give each kid their own color schemes, and yeah, it went well. I made sure it all looked cohesive, and the background was made as well to fit that theme. Like it wasn't gonna look out of place. So yeah. As for each individual character, because I was saying I wanted to make personality or lore for them, I'll start with Tito. In my eyes, he's kind of the shy one of the group. Like, he's kind of the soft boy that you're like, I want to protect you, you're so small. Like, that's the vibe you get from him. But he also is the type of kid who kind of treats his friends with like a really warm demeanor, and like he's always offering a listening ear to them, because, you know, if anyone's having problems, the best person to go to sometimes is your friends, so you can confide in them about it. I wanted to give him vitiligo, I think that's how you say it, the skin condition that he has. I wanted to give that to him because it's a tribute to a big inspiration of mine growing up, Michaela de Prince, because I borrowed her book from my school library when I was about like 14, I think, and her story really stuck with me, and like the amount of courage and bravery she had to show all throughout her life to keep moving forward, it was really incredible. So in a way, Tito having that same skin condition is kind of a tribute to her and how much she inspired me when I was little, and how much her story like moved me. Like I kind of cried at her story, I think, because there was moments where it's just so sad, but it also was so kind of inspiring to like persevere and keep going forward no matter what life throws at you. So yeah, that's why Tito has vitiligo. But yeah, he's also Italian. He and the gondolier on the postcard screen thing, they probably work together and sail through Venice, which is really sweet. So Julie in my mind is short for Juliet, and she's a fashion designer who loves making her own clothes and outfits. She's kind of a tribute to Mizuki from Project Sekai, because that's who I was thinking about when creating her character. Mizuki like really inspires me, because they embody being true to yourself and like never letting other people's mind or opinions like change what you think about yourself. And that whole idea of being patient with someone enough that you can wait for them to tell you how they really feel is a really nice message too. So since Mizuki embodies being true to yourself, I think Julie would kind of want the same. Like, she'd really inspire the other kids to be themselves. And I also think she probably designed Jules' choir outfits, because I think that would be a really cute way of showing support for the World Chorus choir. But as well, I think she'd be friends with Julie, because Julie and Juliet, like, I think they would be good friends. Last but not least, you have Harry, who's Victoria's older brother in my head. So they both came from England and they went to the same school, which is why I both gave them the red ties to kind of symbolize that they go to the same place. but I also made them look similar, like in terms of their hair color. I wanted them to look like siblings. So in my mind, because he's an older, like I'm an older sibling, so as an older sibling, you kind of become that voice of reason in your friend group a bit, because you're looking out for your younger sibling. So he's that voice of reason for his trio. So Tito and Julie, he takes care of them. And he's also the oldest out of the group, even though they're all kind of the same age. He still makes sure they don't get into mischief. I also think he'd like to sing, like his sister, but I also think it would be cool if he had a passion for acting. And I think sometimes Lorenzo would probably let him practice in his theatre, because I think that would be a really cool way of him making friends. And it would also mean that he'd get his experience working with an actual stage before his performances. I think, keeping with kind of how people view British people, like I'm British, he's probably quite polite, but I don't think he would judge anyone, and I think he'd have that philosophy where he always tries to see the best in everyone, because I think that's a really good virtue to give someone. Like, if you don't judge people, you find it easier to befriend them, and you wait until you can form your own perception of them before you listen to what anyone else says. And I think that's something that a lot of people need to learn, because it's really not hard to do. But I wanted Harry to have that characteristic because it's something that I feel strongly about, and I kind of see myself in him a bit. So yeah, that's what I managed to come up with. I hope you guys like the designs. Like, they were just fun to make. I really like the color schemes, and I think it's a really nice way to pay tribute to World Chorus, like I was saying. It's like a bit more personal. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!